go if you are ready.
Okay. We're all set?
Yep.
Good evening. This is the Mayor and Council work session for Wednesday, October 13th, 2021. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of all citizens to have advance notice of and to attend all meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting the public is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, notice of the meeting and the mayor and council was originally published in the Bergen Record on Sunday, January 10th, 2021, and the Suburban News on February 4th, 2021, and updated in the Bergen Record and the Ridgewood News on Friday, June 4th, 2021. Ms. Bending, may we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Dillon.
Present by telephone.
Councilwoman Cusick.
Here.
Councilman Gutwetter.
Here.
Councilman Jones.
Here.
Councilman Kilman.
Here.
Councilman Weber.
Here.
Councilwoman Woods.
Here.
Thank you. May we rise for the flag salute, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
Under God,
with liberty and
indivisible,
justice for all.
and justice for all.
All right. We have no minutes to approve this time. Do we have a motion to approve communications?
We do, Council President. I move that the communications be received and filed.
I second.
Thank you. Any comment on the communications?
Yes, Council President, this is Mayor Dillon. I'd like to thank Frank Giordano and Julie Pileggi for their service to the borough, and I wish Mr. Giordano a wonderful retirement. And also thank County Executive Tedesco for the grant of $66,440 that will enable us to update the bathrooms at Borough Hall to make them handicap accessible.
Thank you, Mayor Dillon. Anyone else? Not seeing anyone. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Cusick.
Yes.
Councilman Gutwetter.
Yes.
Councilman Jones.
Yes.
Councilman Kilman.
Yes.
Councilman Weber.
Yes.
Councilwoman Woods.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to public comment. Anyone wishing to address the governing body, please give your name, spelling the last name and address. Please speak in an audible tone and address your comment to the chair. There will be a 5-minute time limit per speaker unless reduced because of the volume of business on the agenda. Please note, public comment is your time. Out of respect and fairness to all, there will be no interruptions or questions answered during your time. No time shall be ceded to anyone else, and no time shall have to be saved for later use. Any responses may be given during the governing body's comments later in the meeting or as directed by the chair. The borough clerk is the official timekeeper. At this time, do we have anyone who has any public comment, either on the phone or in the audience? Go ahead.
Miller, Umiller.
Okay.
I have 2 comments. First, I'm calling in using the free conference call on my computer. I just put in Ramsey Borough, B-O-R-O, all one word, and it connects. I don't have to bother with any numbers or passwords. Why hasn't the borough told the populace that this easy way of calling in to comment is available? It seems to me the only reason is you don't want people calling in. My second comment is this. I sent a fax to the borough last Thursday at 3, and I received from the fax server a confirmation that it had received acknowledgement from the borough's fax machine at 3/21 that the plaques had been delivered to the machine then. That was before the 4 p.m. cutoff time. It was not listed, it is not listed in communication. Last night, I sent another fax to the borough. Again, the borough fax machine acknowledged to the fax server that it had received the fax, but the borough did not add my last Thursday fax to the agenda as is customary. Now, Ramsey, or could, if it wished, have the company that provides the website software add a capability to have comments passed in via that fax. And it could also send the sender a copy back, as it does with requests for documents from the town. It seems to me that the borough is not interested in the comments and suggestions that would make its own life easier, and certainly doesn't want to hear from the people. Please let me know also whether, once the emergency is over, the borough will continue to add all the communications, motions, ordinances, and for the planning board and board of adjustment, plans and pictures to the agenda that's posted so that everybody can see them. Will the borough be continuing to do that, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bumiller. You bring up some interesting points, and we'll take a look at it.
His communication is on.
His communications on
But
it.
just
Okay.
read my notes. I've
Okay.
given you a whole bunch this year,
But your
and nothing come back.
your communication is on the agenda, but your other point about the web audio is an interesting point, so we'll
Well,
investigate.
when did that put in? Because I looked at it late this afternoon after 5 p.m. and it wasn't there.
It was put in the agenda update that, we only posted an agenda update about 7 o'clock prior to the meeting with everything, with an alert that went out, and it's in that version that went out. That was the only thing posted today.
Sorry, I cannot
Yeah, I'll
hear
tell you. Mr. Bowmiller, an update went out at 7 o'clock before the meeting with the latest update. Things come up before the meeting, and yours was posted on. It's number 6, and your communication is there.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Once the agenda were completed before the weekend, so people would have the time to read and reply thoughtfully to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else from the public who wish to speak? Anyone in the audience, any comments? All right. Do another round. Once again, this is public comment time. If we have anyone who is on the phone who would like to comment or has that special audio that Mr. Bowmiller was talking about, please speak up now. Not hearing anyone, we will close public comment at this time, and we will move forward. There are no advertised consideration of ordinances or appointments, and we move into consent resolutions. Councilman Gottwetter.
Thank you, Council President Kilman. Be it resolved that resolutions 176, 2021, through and including 183/2021, having been considered by the governing body of the Borough of Ramsey, be and are hereby passed and approved. There are no special permits or block party requests this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Do we have a second?
Yes, I second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Cusick.
Yes.
Councilman Gottwalder.
Yes.
Councilman Jones.
Yes.
Councilman Kilman.
Yes.
Councilman Weber.
Yes.
Councilwoman Woods.
Yes.
We'll now move into special presentations. Our first one is a proclamation, which will be given by Madam Mayor. I just want to make a comment. Is the young woman who wanted this proclamation, are you on the phone or here in some way to make yourself available? Just so that we know. Obviously, you can't on YouTube, but not hearing anyone, I turn it over to you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Office of the Mayor, Borough of Ramsey, proclamation. Whereas October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, let it be known that Ramsey NJ is pleased to recognize and observe October 13, 2021 as Metastatic Breast Cancer Awareness Day and hereby recognizes the Light Up MBC National Campaign. Whereas breast cancer is the most common type of cancer among women in the world and second leading cause of death, cancer death among women in the United States. More than 1 in 8 women and 1 in 833 men in the United States will be diagnosed with breast cancer in their lifetimes. In 2021, an estimated 284,200 Americans will be diagnosed with invasive breast cancer, including over 8,330 women in New Jersey. Whereas the pink ribbon is well known for representing the fight against early-stage breast cancer, it is not inclusive of stage 4. Therefore, the Metastatic Breast Cancer Awareness Tricolor ribbon includes teal, pink, and green. The teal color portrays healing and spirituality. Green represents the triumph of spring over winter, life over death, renewal, hope, and immortality, and the thin pink overlay signifies that the cancer originated in the breast. Whereas metastatic breast cancer affects all races and socioeconomic classes, while Caucasian women see slightly higher incident rates of breast cancer, the mortality rate for Black women with breast cancer is 41% higher than that of Caucasian women. And breast cancer is the leading cause of cancer-related death for Hispanic women. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Ramsey hereby encourages citizens to join the national effort towards awareness of metastatic breast cancer during October through MetAviver. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be presented as a sincere token of this board's wishes to Kristen Kubicki, volunteer for MetAviver. Signed and sealed on October 13th, 2021, Deirdre A. Dillon, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No roll call. Okay. And now we have a special presentation, Emergency Services Building, which will be presented by the Ramsey Fire and the Ramsey Rescue Squad regarding, again, the Emergency Services Building on South Island Avenue in Ramsey, New Jersey. Gentlemen? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can,
Sorry, Jane.
Good evening, Mayor Dillon, Council President Tillman, members of the Municipal Council. Thank you for allowing us time to make this special presentation this evening on the current status of the Public Safety Complex on South Island Avenue. Most of you may know me, but for some of you that don't, and for the members of the public in attendance, my name is Jonathan Creel, Chief of the Ramsey Fire Department. I'm a 37-year resident of the Borough of Ramsey with 26 years in Ramsey's emergency services, having served 2 years as Chief of the Rescue Squad and the past 3 years as Chief of the Fire Department. I hold a degree in fire science and am employed as a firefighter for the city of Patterson for the past 20 years, where I currently hold the rank of captain. Along with me this evening are Christopher Kiosian, Chief of the Ramsey Rescue Squad, Gregory Hewitt, ex-Chief of the Ramsey Fire Department, and Joseph Manfredonia, ex-Chief of the Ramsey Rescue Squad.
For those of you who can't thank you for allowing us to be here tonight, my name is Gregory Hewitt. I'm a 20-year borough resident, past chief of the Ramsey Fire Department. Have a degree in business and a degree in finance. And I currently work for one of the largest construction firms in Northern Jersey.
So, good evening. My name is Chris Kiosian, current chief of the Ramsey Rescue Squad. I'm a 27-year resident of Ramsey, New Jersey, and I've been involved with the rescue squad for the past 11 years, where I currently serve as chief. I hold a degree in business and technology, and I currently work in software implementation for Deloitte Consulting.
Good evening. I'm Joseph Manfredonia. I'm also a past chief of the Ramsey Rescue Squad, 48-year resident of Ramsey, 32-year volunteer of the Ramsey Emergency Services. I have a Bachelor of Architecture and a Master's of Science in Construction Management. I'm also the director of pre-construction for Paul Wingate, which is a 100-year-old New York City construction firm specializing in new buildings in New York City.
I'd like to start this evening with a brief history on the current land and public safety complex. In the late 1940s, the fire department outgrew the original firehouse, which was a single bay and a meeting room from 1899. This was located at 1 West Main Street, the building currently behind Brady's, and plans were made to construct a new firehouse on the property located at 2533 South Island Avenue. This plot of land was originally wetlands with preliminary plans to develop a future road, Pershing Way. Construction of the new firehouse began in 1951. It was completed in 1952. This firehouse consisted of 3 apparatus bays and offices on the first floor, a meeting room, kitchen, and restrooms and a lounge on the second floor. If you look on your handouts we have here, the original firehouse is outlined in red, and what was a smaller portion on the second floor, probably less than half of what is currently there today. This entire building was constructed above a 5'6" crawl space that spans the entire building. In 1962, the addition of the new police station was added onto the south-facing wall of the firehouse. This is to the left of the firehouse. You can see it outlined in blue, where the rescue squad currently resides. The police department remained there until they moved to their current location on North Central Avenue in the late 1970s. In 1981, a local arsonist succeeded in setting fire to the firehouse, causing significant damage to the second floor. Now, the renovation to the second floor, you can see in the darker blue, it was expanded to cover the full, completely over the apparatus bays. In addition, in 1982, we enlarged the meeting room, more office space storage. Chief's office was added to the first floor. Eventually, in the mid-1980s, the rescue squad was looking for a more permanent location and moved into the old police station. A few years later, in 1989, plans were drawn to add 2 drive-through apparatus bays to the rear of the building, which is on the next slide. These drive-through apparatus bays, the expansion was completed in 1990. In 1991, due to the increase in weight of fire apparatus and having the apparatus bays above crawl space, the floor had to be reinforced with steel I-beams that were installed to distribute and carry the increasing weight. In 1997, the addition of a 150-foot communications tower was completed, replacing the old 75-foot tower. And in the early 2000s, the I-beams that were under the bays of the firehouse had to be reinforced again. And this was due to the increase of the new apparatus that was ordered in 2004. Since that time, no significant upgrades to the complex have been made. Over the years, the settling of the complex has affected the original building in various additions in different ways. The foundation and specific sections have begun to crumble, and additions have begun to pull away from the original structure. Due to the separations, leaks have opened up in the roofs and walls, causing damage over the years. This includes water that has caused the exterior wall stucco to fall off, revealing cracks in some of the bearing walls. Lastly, over the past 40 years, fire and rescue apparatus have not gotten small. The days of small, lightweight, open cab fire trucks and riding the tailboard have long passed. The fire service has transitioned to a new generation of safety-minded apparatus, which requires all responders to be secured inside the moving vehicle. Along with this comes changes in equipment, which requires more space on the apparatus, causing an increase in weight. A typical fire engine can weigh around 20 tons, and a ladder truck 40 tons or more. Currently, the apparatus bay doors are 10 feet in height, making it difficult as time progresses to specify replacement apparatus. A perfect example is Tower Ladder 442, which is a 2004 emergency one apparatus. When purchased, a significant sacrifice of compartment space had to be made in order to have the truck fit inside a 10-foot door. Not only does this hamper the use of apparatus, but it also comes with an added cost to make these specialty changes to such equipment. This time I'm going to turn the presentation over to Ex-Chief Hewitt, who will speak a little bit more about the conditions of the building itself.
Thanks, John. So, as we all know, we've been dealing with the fire building for decades, at the rate it is. Over the past several years, the fire department, in an effort to be more out and forward-facing in the community, holds more and more events. We do breakfast with Santa, breakfast with the Easter Bunny, pancake breakfast, and numerous public education events throughout the year where the public comes into the building. Over the years, issues have come up with access to the building, not only for members of the public, but for members in general that, as they get older, have difficulty accessing the building. Currently, the building has several ADA issues that don't comply or just are not there. We don't have an elevator. We have a very narrow staircase, and that'll come up in a slide shortly. It limits older members' access to the upstairs, and in several cases, we've actually had to assist or carry elderly members of the public up to some of these events. There are no handicap toilets. None of the bathrooms are handicap compliant, which prevent wheelchair accessibility at all times. And we do also hold our Home for the Holidays, where we get a large gathering of people called Home for the Holidays Memorial Day to come into the building, and we have limited facilities that people can deal with. As Chief Creel alluded to, low or limited height truck bays and the weighted emergency apparatus have affected or will affect future purchases of any apparatus. Currently, the tower ladders, which always require custom fabrication, and a much higher cost premium to do that. Fire engine and rescue trucks, weighted trucks, as Chief Creel alluded to, currently impacting on truck floor bays and the crawl space underneath. If we flip to the next slide, to point out a couple of things we noted. The picture to the left represents the front entryway, which when you come in the front door, there are all different size steps. As most of you know, may not know, steps are a code issue. Everybody knows, your mind is trained to step a certain distance when you come up and down, no matter where you go. When you went to our firehouse, there's a short step to get up onto the platform. You see a yellow step in there that's not a code compliant steps. Then you have multiple steps that go up to a choke point going to the upstairs, which causes, that's the only access to the interior of our second floor, which is primarily what we use for is public events, okay? And meetings for the fire department member access. That's represented in that second picture in the middle, showing the main staircase, okay? On the right, the farthest right picture, you'll notice what seems like a very high step with a cross-hatched caution tape on the floor. That step is probably, it's 12 foot. It's a foot step.
And there's two of them.
There's two of those. That doorway is directly exposed to the engine apparatus room. So members coming into the apparatus room have to step down over a non-compliant and trip hazard to get into the engine room. I'll also note that engine exhaust, diesel fuel, smoke, exhaust, and everything permeates the building when the trucks start up. So they go right up the stairs, right throughout the building. If you go to this next slide. couple of quick pictures of our bathroom facilities. This is the first floor, which when we access, when we have public into the building and they need a bathroom, this is kind of where we send them. You'll notice that the slide on the picture on the left shows a non-ADA compliant door, needs to be 3 feet, it's only 32 inches wide. When you enter that bathroom, you go over in the back, the sprinkler riser, which can be seen there in the back left corner, takes up room. An ADA bathroom requires a 5-foot circle for access accessibility, so you can spin around in a wheelchair. That's not accessible. The center picture represents the only toilet. Again, limited access, non-ADA. And the picture on the right, for everybody's consumption, is the bathroom that was put on, I guess, John, back in that shop.
This would have been 1950.
Back in the 1950s. So much of this building that we serve today in 2021 we've been using since the 1950s. Okay? I'm going to turn the next couple of slides over to Joe Manfredoni as chief, and he'll talk about height restrictions and other issues.
Thank you, Greg. So this next 2 slides show you visually what Chief Creel had mentioned, the custom fabricated 442 tower ladder, and just how close the top of the boom of the ladder actually sits to the 10-foot high bay header. And you can see from the zoomed in photo on the right that it's only 8.5 inches. So the littlest movement of that boom has a potential to hit that 10-foot bay. Most emergency apparatus bays are at least 12 feet high. This one's 10 feet. Next slide goes also to what Chief Creel had touched upon. This is the crawl space that is directly underneath the fire department apparatus. You can see the beams that have been added over time. The only aspect is you're still seeing some of the cracking in the CMU front wall where the edge of the slab meets the front face of the essentially the crawl space wall that's along Island Avenue. So there's still some remaining issues there. One repair has been made, which you see in the slide on the left. The rest of the bays, that same repair has not been made as of yet. Next slide, this is the drive-through bays of rescue, the rescue squad. You will see some of the larger cracking and settlement items that are coming with the existing slab of the rescue bays, which are circled in the dashed red ovals. The next slide after that shows you both in the rescue bays and in the fire bays just how close some of our firefighter turnout gear, rescue squad turnout gear sits along the side of the emergency apparatus. Sometimes there's only 24 inches to about 32 inches for firefighters and rescue squad persons to get dressed, all the while sometimes the apparatus gets pulled out at the same time. A very, very dangerous potential condition. Whereas most firehouses, newer these days, have separate spaces or separate, gear rooms that people and firefighters and rescue squadmen can get dressed and then exit fully dressed and get in the apparatus and go through those. We have a couple of conditions where 442 tower ladder, the actual diesel exhaust points in the direction of firefighters where they would get dressed, which you can see in the far right slide. Next slide after that is where you will see some of the exterior stucco facade treatment over the years has cracked and started to buckle because of the water penetration that found its way behind that stucco exterior treatment. This can be found somewhat in the rescue side meeting room walls. And then what you see in the center slide is the generator room to the complex, and you can see the large vertical crack where that later addition has started to pull away from the main structure of the building. The same thing goes with the far right slide where the rescue bay addition has started to do the same thing, where we were actually able to see daylight from the inside of the bay towards the outside in that crack, which has now been temporarily plugged up with just spray foam. After this slide, I'm going to turn this over to Chief Creel.
So finally, after discussing the fire and rescue buildings on Island Ave, we have the current space for the Office of Emergency Management. currently located in the basement or subgrade of Ramsey Borough Hall where we are today. The first photo on the left, you can see that there is a very small meeting space that can fit at a maximum of 12 OEM personnel, guests or otherwise, for any function, meeting, or emergency conferences that they need to host. Moving over to the middle, you can see that they have a very overcrowded radio room, which is the sole point of communications for the Office of Emergency Management to use in the case of any emergency or other time where the Emergency Operations Center needs to be put online, oftentimes during any declared disaster or state of emergency. And then finally, you can show the working office desk, which is located in the basement as well, next to the electric transfer switch for the emergency generator. Overall, this is just pointing out the space that they are working with and the adequacies of it. And I'll turn it back over to Joe and Brad.
Okay, so for the final slide is the listing of the various architectural design services and sub-services that will go along with the initial steps to looking towards a newer complex to satisfy these many issues that we just presented. So these would be a geotechnical engineer to do some soil sampling borings designated by the architect, specific locations to take drill soil samples from the perimeter of the building and see exactly what types of soils we're dealing with. And then hand in hand would go along with a structural engineer to do analysis of those types of soils to exactly figure out what would be the most appropriate type of foundation for a newer building in that same location. Later on, after the architect would start to design preliminary layouts, architectural layouts, there would be a secondary phase of what we call a MEPS engineer, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and sprinkler, that they would hand-in-hand design their appropriate systems along with the architect. So that's a general layout of what the architect and the consulting engineers would have.
In closing, we appreciate your attention to this matter for the safety and well-being of all Ramsey's first responders and the public. At this time, it's our recommendation that the borough enter into a professional services contract with an architectural design firm, services firm, who will oversee feasibility, design, bidding, and construction. Thank you for your time this evening, and we welcome any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'll speak first and then I'll just open it up. This is a very thoughtful presentation, and in my unprofessional eye reflects exactly what I saw when I toured it yourself. And many of the things need to be addressed, not all of the things, in some fashion. The steps that we have to take as a mayor and council are going to be to take a look at it from a first step. And that first step would be having a third party or an unbiased engineer who either specializes in emergency services or someone who has that capability that does that assessment and then comes back. And that's just my first opinion about it. That would be the first step. But I also think at this point in time, and I'm not shutting down any other questions, this would go back to the utilities, buildings, and grounds. We would take a look at what engineers or what, in working with a borough administrator, who are out there who would be able to look at this with that unbiased point of view, try to identify them in the very near future, get them out there, and begin to look at how we can proceed. Because there are a number of steps that we do that not only we need to do to make sure that every T is crossed and I is dotted, but it also is saying that what you've presented here is something that needs to be addressed, and we need to proceed in a fashion that's the most appropriate one, and as quickly in a timely fashion. So, any questions on what you saw? Or?
I would just like to say thank you. I think it's a wonderful presentation. I'm glad that, I mean, obviously the soil sample is important, but I really think that's the root of all of the problems is the foundation. So I'm glad we'll be looking at that and fixing that. So thank you. Thank you.
I would add my thanks to that, as well as thank you for taking the time to give us the tour of the facility and let us see firsthand, the damage. It's one thing to see it in pictures, which I think were pretty explicit, but going and walking through the facility and actually seeing the wear and tear over the 70 years that we're talking about was pretty eye-opening. Thank you.
Yeah, if you stand at the high school looking at the facility, or just even on Island Avenue, you can't appreciate the magnitude of some of the problems that the facility has faced after 70 years. So you actually get up close and see. I appreciate the opportunity to take a look at it from that point of view.
The opportunity to go with them and see firsthand what is going on there. And I feel council president. So at this point, I'd like to refer the matter to the children's services staff on the committee for them to make a recommendation on how to move forward on it at the October 27th meeting.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I'd just like to thank you and your teams for their service to the town as well.
Thank you. Very well.
I also want to add that, when you look at this facility and then you look at what a facility would be in the future, you look at the men and women who put themselves in harm's way to protect and to save members of our family here in Ramsey. And it just adds another degree of gravitas to the whole thing. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Spaceship Land.
Oh, yeah.
Have a copy. Other people. I don't think I'm on it. The smaller one. and-
Oh,
You don't have to.
no, here, no.
He's charged.
Oh, that's
so
right.
Again, you don't need.
Just in case you needed it.
Okay. At this time, we'll do our committee and liaison reports. And we will start with Finance and Administration, Councilman Michael Gutwin.
Thank you again. Polycom. Thank you again, Council President Kilman, and good evening. As for the Library Board, Mr. Jeff Hoffman was promoted to Social Media Manager and Outreach Specialist and has begun to create more engaging content on the library's Instagram and Facebook pages, and the goal to have some quite unique content there. The Boo Bash event will be on Saturday, October 30th from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m., and along with a Halloween scavenger hunt is also being planned. And check the library website for more details. The Friends of the Ramsey Library are holding a used book and jewelry sale from October 21st to October 24th inside the library to benefit the summer reading program and other events and services. You could drop off these items at the library from the 16th to the 20th of October, and the regular meeting will be next week, so I'll have a little more to report on at our meeting in a couple weeks. As far as the Rec Commission, the Ramsey run is completed. There were, overall, the number of runners was down from prior years, but still a respectable count, and congrats to all the participants, and thanks to all of those who helped out. A Halloween parade is outside on the Ramsey High School front lawn on October 30th. The Rife events I will leave in the hands of Councilman Weber. And lastly, preparations are underway for rec basketball for boys and girls from December through March. And lastly, again, I would like to congratulate Plumbing Inspector Frank Giordano on his retirement. That's all I have for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Gottwetter. Public Safety, Councilman Harry Weber.
Thank you, Council President. From the Environmental Commission, I unfortunately had a conflict last night, could not make the meeting, so I did want to at least acknowledge Michelle Taylor, who submitted her resignation. She'll be relocating out of town, and she's been a tremendous asset to the Environmental Commission since she joined it. She's been a large part of the Green Team and the Sustainable Jersey efforts that that committee has been so successful in achieving. As Councilman Guttwetter mentioned, we have a busy schedule with challengers and the Rife Committee. This coming Friday, we have our art class, which is always a very popular event. I think we have over 25 kids signed up to create art projects this Friday night at the community center. We'll be having a Halloween party on October 29th, so I'd hope to see a lot of our council members there in costume. That also will be over at the community center on starting at 7 o'clock on the 29th. Soccer season continues, and it's going very, very well. We're getting at least 15 participants playing soccer each Saturday. And we just had a Rife meeting tonight. We'll be scheduling additional social events, probably a dance in November and a dance in December, and more details to follow on that. On the Municipal Alliance, I just want to congratulate Chairperson Sarah Poppy and all the other RMA members. They put on a phenomenal Parent Academy over at the high school last week, October 6th, hosting a presentation by Dr. Matthew Bellis. He did a presentation on supporting teens and reducing stress, and it was really a well-done seminar. Over 100 attendees participated, or there were over 100 people attended, which was a very, very nice turnout, very, very active dialogue after the presentation with a lot of questions and answers. The next event that has been advertised by the Municipal Alliance for parent, in conjunction with the Parent Academy, is scheduled for November 10th. It will be Carrie Bushhoven. She is Maddie Holloran's sister and the communications director for the Maddie Holloran Foundation. Maddie Holloran, as you may recall, was this student from Allendale who took her life due to stress in college. The presentation will be on the impact of Madison's story and the impact that it's had on their family. Public safety, I just want to thank our chiefs and past chiefs again for the presentation that they gave tonight, and I look forward to working with Council President Kilman from UB&G on putting together a response for our next meeting. That's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Weber. Councilwoman Jane Woods, Building, Planning, and Zoning.
Thank you. Oh.
Get a drone. High technology.
Thank you, Council President. I have a very short report tonight. I would also just like to thank congratulate Frank Giordano on his retirement. The Board of Health is meeting tomorrow, but they did have a successful flu clinic and health fair October 1st, and I'll have more to report on that at our next meeting. The Ramsey seniors will also be having their trustee meeting tomorrow, and our next design review board is October 26th. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Woods. Utilities, Buildings, and Grounds, now that is me. The timing, first I want to thank the Emergency Services for the presentation tonight. Again, I want to just say it was a thoughtful presentation, reflected what I saw, and we look forward to working with you as we move forward. What we have, because of the timing, the Public Works meeting will happen on October 18th, which is coming ahead of us. Zoning is on October 20th, and Shade Tree is on October 21st. I do have a report from former Councilman Joe Verdoni, also a military veteran and VFW Post 12148 member, and it goes as follows. On Monday, September 13th, at its dinner meeting, the Greater Ramsey Unicode chapter presented the VFW Post a check of $1,550 proceeds from the July 4th 50/50 raffle. On Tuesday, October 26th, the VFW members will once again resume its annual hot dog, chips, and drinks for the young people practicing football and other sports at Finch Park. The VFW usually serves 175 plus hot dogs, to the group, which is always well attended and very much appreciated. On Veterans Day, Thursday, November 11th, VFW events will include the 9 a.m. ceremony at the Union Cemetery, the 11 a.m. ceremony at Veterans Park with the mayor and council, and the ceremony at Brighton Gardens Senior Living in Saddle River. On Saturday, October 30th, VFW members will be replacing American flags at fallen veterans' graves at Union Cemetery, Ramsey, and Redeemer Cemetery in Mahwah. And on Sunday, November 7th, the VFW members will set up a booth at the Ramsey Farmers Market selling patriotic shirts and getting poppy donations. And that is their report. Thank you. And also, I wanted to thank, congratulate Frank Giordano on his retirement and wish him well. And that is my report. Our next person, as I put through this, is Councilman Jones, Public and Governmental Relations.
Thank you, Council President Kilman. I will echo the comments of various members on congratulating Frank on his retirement, and also best wishes to Julie, and thank them both for their service to Ramsey. There's no pool commission report to give yet. We have a meeting coming up. I would ask everyone to continue to be reminded to support our local businesses and shop locally, and use the Ramsey Chamber of Commerce website to find local businesses that may not necessarily have storefronts on Main Street and still support them with their services and help our neighbors and keep Ramsey downtown and all the business community supported throughout the year. I'll remind everybody the farmers market continues to be open on Sundays. Lastly, for me this evening, the 2 weeks from tonight on October 27th, I want everyone to note we have a special meeting time of 6:30 for our mayor and council meeting, and that will be followed by our annual volunteer award recognition night. We're going to be back here this year at the Borough Hall, and we'll be bringing groups in a socially distant, fair, safe way for all the various groups to be recognized. As you know, this is probably the highlight of the year for the governing body, as we get to say thank you and get to hear so many stories of the people who give so much of their own time in volunteering capacities from so many of the different groups in town. And I know it's always my favorite night for sure, and we look forward to it. But special reminder to those out there that 6:30 regular council meeting followed by the awards night afterwards. So just a reminder for that. And that's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Jones. Health, Education, and Social Services, Councilwoman Judy Cusick.
Pass that back home.
Thank you, Council President Kilman. This is Judy Cusick, and I'd like to give my report for 13 October 2021. I also want to wish Frank a wonderful retirement and congratulate him. My report tonight is going to be an update regarding our planning board, the Ramsey Board of Education, and Ramsey Responds. Regarding the Ramsey Planning Board, there was no meeting since our last meeting together on the 29th September. Our next planning board meeting is the 19th of October. Ramsey Board of Education, I encourage our town members to keep current with the Board of Education activities because 69% of Ramsey residents' property taxes are for the Board of Ed. Please note that the meetings are recorded and posted on the platform YouTube. Once in YouTube, just search Ramsey Board of Education, and the meetings are listed and sorted by date. The next meeting is October 26th. For Ramsey Responds, for the food pantry, donations are always welcome. Food collections are every Tuesday from 4 to 5:30 p.m. at St. Paul's, with distribution on Fridays. There's a Ramsey Responds social media page that contains additional information regarding projects and requests for the pantry. Council President Kilman, that's my report for the evening.
Thank you very much. And now, and now, here I am. And now, Mayor Deirdre Dolan. Did I hit the wrong button?
I believe it's now my turn.
Yes, it is. Can you hear me?
Thank you. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I hit the wrong button, so, oh, you're glad you're still there.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Thank you. Okay, thank you to Kristen Kubicki for bringing awareness of metastatic breast cancer and its devastating effects. That's why we issued the proclamation this evening. I'd like to thank Chief Creel, Chief Keosian, past Chief Hewitt, and past Chief Manfredonia for their very detailed and informative presentation. I think they did a wonderful job highlighting the challenges of that building. And thank you to Michelle Taylor for her service to the Environmental Commission and Green Team. She's been an absolutely wonderful member of both, and she'll be truly missed. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Now, Borough Administrator, Mr. Bruce Vosay.
Thank you, Council President. A few comments tonight. First off, I would thank the chiefs and ex-chiefs for their presentation tonight, as well as obviously their service to the community. I would thank Frank Giordani for his service to the borough and would congratulate him on his retirement. I'll talk about a couple resolutions that were on the agenda. Resolution 178 was the acceptance of the borough audit for 2020. It's been completed by our independent auditors, Garbarini and Company. The auditors found no significant deficiencies, no material weaknesses, no instances of noncompliance related to the borough's financial statements. In the audit comments and recommendations section, there was an instance where the collective purchases throughout the year for one vendor on water and sewer chemicals testing and sampling surpassed the bid threshold. This was unanticipated as during the year with the water treatment projects ongoing and COVID delays, the Board of Public Works deemed it necessary during the summer to temporarily bring on a well which is offline, to bring it back online to meet peak demand. This temporary reactivation was done in accordance and approval of NJDEP, and additional water sampling was required, bringing the aggregate total costs beyond what was anticipated when the initial agreement with the vendor was put in place. In addition, this specialized work and vendors who do this are very limited. Correction action will be taken moving forward. Resolutions 180 and 181 are from the Bergen Joint Insurance Fund and adopt and updated our borough policy, personnel policies and procedures manual, along with affirming civil rights policies. As I mentioned, Frank Giordano will be retiring November 1st. We wish him well. Ralph Venturini, our construction official, is recommending Brian Drews, currently one of our plumbing inspectors, be appointed as the new plumbing subcode official, as Mr. Drews has the requisite licenses and experience to fill the position and maintain Ramsey's Class 1 HHS designation with the NJDCA. We'll prepare a resolution appointing Mr. Drews for the next meeting for the governing body's consideration. And I would just mention that Resolution 183, Julie Seeligy, our payroll and benefits administrator, is resigning effective October 29th. We've begun a search for her replacement, and I will keep you updated as we progress. The only other thing I would mention is, as I did last meeting, recently the borough was alerted to a data security incident. In response, a leading forensic expert was engaged immediately by the borough to conduct an investigation into the nature and scope of the incident. The investigation does remain ongoing. However, once the investigation is completed, if required, the borough will take all necessary steps to contact those individuals whose information may have been impacted by this incident. Thank you for your patience as we continue to finalize and conduct our investigation. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Borough Administrator, Mr. Vosay. Counselor?
Nothing, thank you, sir.
Borough Clerk, Ms. Bendian?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to report on the 3 ways to vote for, thank you, for the November 2nd general election. You can go to your regular polling location on Tuesday, November 2nd. Polls are open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. You can vote by mail. And for the first time, the state has enacted that there will be in-person early voting, and there are 9 locations in the county, and you can go to any of those locations and vote the Ramsey ballot at that location. So that's all that I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have no introduction of ordinances. Any unfinished business? Any new business? We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
8:26.
Good night, everyone. Take care.
Good night, Madam Mayor.
Aye.